Short Rest with Fonzi and Carlo.
Would you want to start? Hi, Carlo.
Okay. Hey guys, Fonzie. I think it's time for a short rest, man. We've been doling at it we've been having at it for a week now. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the people that we asked feedback from. Some unsolicited, others I've had to personally ask what you think, and they liked it. They love the concept. They particularly love our intro. So by a glorious Fonzi Marquez. So yeah, maybe we should start by regaining some hit points.
Sure, man. So before that, though,
Yeah,
it's nice to spend time with you again, Carlo. Again, my name is Fonzi. I'm a DM from Davao City, and Carlo, can you introduce yourself very quickly?
Yeah. Who is this nerd who is talking about it? I'm Carlo Gonzalez. I'm a digital marketing production manager from Franchise Digital Marketing. There's a plug.
Yeah, man.
But yeah.
You should charge for sponsorship now.
Yeah. All right.
So definitely, let's regain some hit points. I'll go first.
Okay, sige, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, this week has been particularly busy, and with all the things coming out in terms of D&D, really exciting week. Critical Role is back, so that's been really awesome, and I've been catching up with the campaign now, so really fun. Yeah, but aside from that, just a lot of watching in betweens and watching shows in betweens, and just, discovering new things that I could do. So podcasting being one of them.
Yeah. Shout out to Podcast PH, one of the most welcoming FB groups I've ever been in.
Absolutely. So right now, as we're recording, it's Sunday. Right.
9 a.m. I've had my coffee.
Fresh from doing absolutely nothing the night before. I take tea now.
Oh, nice. Yes. The classier man would select tea.
Coffee doesn't just overdoes it.
Ganon.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah. So how are you, Carlo? What's been going on?
I'm gonna regain my hit points right now because the week was rough. Well, there's the usual work. Someone who is employed. A lot of management stuff, a lot of helping people out with their tasks, particularly with work. Other than that, though, I guess one of the most one of the most relevant updates would be that I moved from Cavite again to Pasig. So that's a thing that I'm currently working on because I have 80% of my stuff at home, then move them back here. That's why notice I have video, I have relatively better audio, I hope.
Right.
Other than that, it's really also been catching up with some friends, and just overall being busy moving. That's it.
Yeah, how's the travel from
Travel?
Pasig to where you are? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have my sister drive me to Pasig.
Oh, that's convenient.
So, yeah, it's convenient. So I'd rather stay at home than risk the commute, considering the pandemic.
Yeah.
The
The
plague.
death curse.
I'd rather stay home. And then if my sister couldn't fetch me, I'd say it's okay. I can stay here for a week. Kasi, like I said, I only have 80% of my stuff here. The remaining 20% is back home.
Mm.
Other than that, I'm good. It was just a busy week.
Good week for you, though. New album from Taylor Swift coming out.
Are we going there?
Absolutely.
All right, yeah, it's a good week. Taylor Swift just came out with a new album, Folklore, which I am still torn if I should review in writing or in video. But whatever, figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out.
And if I was a bard, I would multi-class into a paladin, and she would be my patron deity. I'm just saying.
Taylor Swift is a lich, confirmed.
Well, I mean, yeah, she has a lot of fans. She's
So,
just doing what Vecna did in Critical Role Season 1.
which is
I
what?
forgot what the ritual of... I forgot what that ritual is.
Ascension, maybe?
Uh, Before that, though, when she gains followers and have actually followers sacrificing themselves for...
Facebook
Yeah, it's close to
advertising.
that.
The ritual
Well,
of placement of advertising.
yes. All right.
Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Speaking of, Fonzie, I want to get this off my chest. Firstly, I would like to rage.
Oh,
Okay. And I would
You're
like
now
to talk
raging.
about...
that's a bonus action.
That's my bonus action.
What's your action?
My action would be saying this in particular. I would write a strongly worded letter to all those. Now this is just me. When when we have games when we have our games, there's... I want to ask you this: have you ever encountered that one player who's like super optimized in everything that they do, and that they don't, like, when it comes to RP, they don't really listen? Like, as a DM and even as a player, I get irked by it. Sometimes they don't listen at all, and all they care about is the combat encounter
And the
right?
items afterwards?
And the items afterwards. Exactly. I mean, that irks me. Like, I understand that every person has their respective playstyles, but when it comes to that, since D&D is a group game, that irks me, because it's like he's not particularly attached to the story. And as someone who values story, as someone who values um how people feel with regards to their actions, just having this person just care about encounters, that irks me. And I respect that there are people who are that way, but if I'm gonna DM, and do you know this? I DM for very specific people only, like those who are very near and dear to me, and who know how to RP. Yeah, so that's just me. But that's my rage.
Oh,
That's my action.
are you done?
I don't. Yeah.
Do you like your end
Yes.
turn?
I would like to end my turn.
Okay. So, I mean, your feelings are totally valid. It is perfectly understandable how you would feel frustrated about certain people not, conforming to how you prefer to play the game, which is understandable. And in my experience in just being a DM in public tables like Adventures League, you would encounter a lot of players who are just in it for their own interests, and which is relatively understandable as well. And you would also encounter people who generally enjoy different facets of the game. Like, there are like social interaction and combat and exploration, right? But for Adventures League, I've encountered more players who are more keen into creating really powerful player characters and really imbalanced player characters. And there are ways and means on how we are able to kind of like abuse the dynamic and the rules of Dungeons and Dragons, which is, I feel like it's just part of the game. Personally, like, I don't really enjoy creating really overpowered characters, simply because one of the things that make characters interesting are character flaws, right? And part of that is just introducing that dynamic even in combat. Like, there are certain limitations that your character can do. Like, for example, as a wizard, you shouldn't have 24 AC. You're a wizard. God damn it. And paladin and sorcerers, multi-class and stuff like that. It's really just creating although it's perfectly legal, it's creating a situation within the context of the world of D&D, creating super powerful player characters, which is something that you would expect from higher tier games, right? Like tier 3, tier 4 characters. You would think you would really need to optimize your characters when you get to
Yeah.
those tiers, because the DM can also do the same thing and optimize the
Yeah,
shit
that's true.
out of
Yeah.
the encounter. And really, it's just about us, coming into like public games like Adventure Sleep, right?
Yeah.
Once you post a tier 3, tier 4 mod, it's really just up to the DM how he can make it more challenging for the players. And while we can't really control their ability to be able to do RP, and we have
Yeah.
our preferences.
Yeah.
But I guess like I don't know. With me, I just don't expect much from public games unless I know the players.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when you mentioned that, like, it's also up to the, like, if the DM knows how powerful these characters are in public games, diba? You then, it's so totally up to the DMs to up the ante with their difficulty when it comes to their game. But then I
Absolutely.
feel it becomes a versus game, like this is me versus you. Let's go. I like. Uh, and I understand that this happens. It's fine. And this is just me raging about it. See the I don't see the um I don't see the charisma, or I don't see the appeal of having to fight your DM
Well,
in such a way that you have strong monsters. I'm stronger than you, and it's a, like, for me, D&D is supposed to be a game where you're, this is my expectation, and it's
mm,
probably totally my fault. So it's
mhm,
totally my fault. And like, D&D is supposed to be something that you create stories with. Like, the DM can screw you over sometimes, but the players can come up with great plans. That doesn't necessarily have to go to mean that you need to go toe to toe with your DM, and that's how I feel it's becoming. So yeah,
yeah,
that's it. But I understand
absolutely.
these.
Um, yeah, with that, it's just good to understand. Like, if you have players who are super optimized for combat, that's what they want. That's what that's what they're looking for. Like, they want combat. So for you, it's good to be a balanced DM in a sense that you understand also that the priority ultimately is fun, right, for everyone. And that's really just the responsibility of the DM to provide that kind of environment, for the game, for the different players, and to be able to balance it out. For those who love to RP, just like me, I love it. I love being able to interact with players and create stories and stuff like that, and introduce jokes into the fun of the game, right?
Yeah,
Combat is not really something that I enjoy combat, but
yeah,
as a player, I don't really. It's not everything, right?
yeah. It's
It's
not.
part of
Yeah,
the pie.
it's part of the game. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, so just being able to brush that off, like having a player who doesn't RP, doesn't interact, and just appears when they hear like the magic word initiative, and almost like a magic item, they get activated by the command word roll initiative. So yeah, it's just really part of creating stories, and it's also part of the mods as well, like the mods that you choose. There are a lot of mods out there that rely on RP and have RP repercussions in terms of how the adventure plays out. And there are, like, for example, if you just want to go into combat, there are really combat centric mods out there that just focus on combat. It just depends on your mood, really, like what you want to
I
create.
guess. Yeah,
But there are your power and influence as a DM is just all encompassing, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. I guess. Yeah. There are some things I can stand and I can particularly stand. I mean, tolerate. There are things that I can, that I can understand. It's just that that one hurt me really um, in our past few games. So yeah, that's really it. In my past few games, rather.
Yeah. So
Um,
choose your players. I think
yeah, that's
for me personally as a DM, when I post a public game, there are players that I prefer not to play with, and I feel like as a player you should be able to also like sense whether or not that the table is particularly fit for you, unless of course you're a narcissist.
yeah.
uh, but and in that sense, like, yeah, so essentially it's just that, like, personality types and just being able to manage them. Like, it's okay to it's okay not to allow a player into your table because you don't like their play style. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
within your
guess.
right.
Yeah, I think yeah, this is why I seldom run. I actually don't run public games at all. I just run. I mean, after experiencing it as a player, after experiencing public games as a player, like, it's a great way. I mean, I've met some really good D&D friends through public games, but
Mhm.
it's after you've established that core group. At least for me,
Yeah.
I managed to. You'd be lucky to have one that I can play every now and then.
Yeah. Like, I was running public games like last year, like before this
Uh,
COVID thing happened. I was
yeah.
running public games 2 to 3 times a week.
Damn. Nice.
Tier one, tier twos, and yeah, we would play, and I would have regular players because it just fits, their DM style
They
fits
drive
their
well.
player style, and then your schedule fits their schedule. And
Yeah.
there have been really bad um, experiences in terms of handling players and personalities, but the magic of D&D is that it's a shared experience. So if there's a disconnect, the other person feels it too. So if you're not having a good time with a person, the other person isn't necessarily having a good time.
Yeah.
So it's a shared experience. So
Yeah.
naturally, like, if you play, more times with that person, you'll eventually, just tune out. Maybe this game isn't for me, unless
Yeah.
of course you're a narcissist.
It's always about me.
But that's a totally different podcast. But yeah, but it just helps to be, or to have that openness in terms of like personality types. It's just different. Public
Yeah.
games are different in terms of, like, especially if you are just starting out,
Yeah.
especially in like Roll20 communities in AL.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know most of the people there, right? And anyone can apply,
Yeah.
right? And I've had
Yeah.
such amazing games with other people who've played under, my table in the Roll20, and others not so much. But that's okay. So just hold on to the good ones. And whenever you have that player who really engages with the story and brings that, out the module and with RP and stuff like that, just focus on that player.
Yeah. Focus on the thing that keeps you playing this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what if that guy doesn't
Yeah. You
just
you do
pops up?
195 damage in one round? Big deal.
Oh, it's initiative now. I unmute my Discord and I start to play. Jesus, it's
Like,
good.
yeah. So rage has been quelled. I guess the encounter's finished.
Yes, you're no longer raging.
Yeah. Did you wanna do an Arcana check? The latest Arcana news by Chris
Hold on.
Perkins.
Oh yeah,
Okay, sorry.
that's particularly interesting. I sent you a
Yeah.
link. So Chris Perkins is the head honcho of Dungeons and Dragons from
Yeah.
Wizards, and he recently tweeted. I think it was July 24.
Yeah.
And he said a little bit of content from Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. That's the new adventure they're coming out with. Hasn't
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
out yet, but he essentially tweeted a scroll, and it's a
Yeah.
legendary scroll, which in AL you will only get in tier 4.
Yeah.
So
Understandable.
it's called the Scroll of Tarrasques Summoning. So I'll read it. All right. Using an
Yeah,
action
go ahead.
to read the scroll causes the Tarrasque to appear in an unoccupied space you can see within 1 mile of you. Jesus. The
It's a
Tarrasque
mile.
disappears when it drops to 0 hit points and is hostile toward all creatures other than itself. Oh, using an
Well,
action.
yeah, it's an action. So 6
Jesus.
seconds, bam, Tarrasque, a mile away from you. Or right in front
Up
of you.
to
if
a
you
mile
prefer.
away from you.
Yeah,
Have you faced a Tarrasque before?
I haven't. I'll be honest, I haven't. And
I have.
I'm not saying. What's your what does it feel like?
I have
That's
faced.
legendary.
There is a tier 4 mod that puts you in front of potentially numerous Tarrasques. And it is a very difficult mod. Essentially, there are a Tarrasque is. Let me pull up their stat. A Tarrasque is a gargantuan monstrosity.
That's
It
a
is a titan.
monstrosity.
So in a conventional, those adventure grids that you can buy off bookstores,
Yeah.
it would barely fit there. It
Yeah.
has an AC or armor class. That's what you need to roll to be able to hit it.
To hit and hurt it. Yeah.
It has
Hurt
an
it.
AC of 25, and its hit points is 33 D20 plus 330. So let me just calculate that for you. Like, what's the max health for a Tarrasque? That's 33 times 20 plus 330, 990 hit points.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's a lot of hit points.
That's got more than 4 rounds, I think.
It has legendary actions,
Yeah.
and its claw attack and most of its attacks, if not all of their attacks, it has 4 attacks: bite, claw, horns, and a tail, and it can attack 5 times
5 times.
with a plus 19 to
Yeah.
hit.
Pretty badass.
Mhm. So when we faced the Tarrasque, right, I had an AC of 33, so he missed a
God.
couple of times. Because all he really needed to roll was what, more than a 14 and up, which is not bad. If you can cast that in combat while you're in a midst of a swarm of enemies and you're being outnumbered, and you pull out that scroll, you cast that in the middle of the battlefield, and you just hide and just let that beast run amok.
Yeah. I feel like this is like if I were a player and I had this scroll, this is something that I would definitely use according to how Perkins or Chris Perkins described. Like, if every MFer needs to be cleared, I would definitely use that. I would use it in an escape situation. Yeah, if I had this spell, I would absolutely use it exactly how Chris Perkins described it. Meaning, I would use it to clear out an entire army or that's encamped somewhere. I would use it to as an escape plan. Like, I'll have someone prepare a teleport spell or a spell that can help us escape. But yeah, that's how I would use it. But I have one lore specific problem for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, lore according to the Tarrasques, according to usual lore, there's only one Tarrasque per world, per realm,
Usually.
per mundus, right? So these Tarrasques, they usually go to sleep. And someone correct in the comments if I'm getting this wrong, but they usually go to sleep and they and wake up when they wake up when something needs to be cleared. It's like a Godzilla thing, right? So a
Mhm.
civilization um, dig too greedily and too deeply, and it wakes up.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be a game ender. My problem with this is that if anyone can summon Tarrasque willing, like, is this Tarrasque asleep? would it be like, where did this Tarrasque come from?
Probably
Like
not.
that would, yeah, that what would
Well, it
what
is
would be the
a summoning
repercussions?
spell. It is a summoning
Yeah.
spell. So most summoning spells don't really can supersede like planar differences. Maybe from a different plane, or maybe from a
Yeah,
different world or
a
something.
universe. Yeah,
Or it's a
but
brand new Tarrasque. Like you summoned it. Like and
my
it is
question then would be,
automatically hostile. So
like
it's
how
angry.
Tarrasques do. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess my
Exactly like a Godzilla, like you were saying.
yeah. How would this, like, how would another Tarrasque or a Tarrasque waking up when it's not supposed to um affect the world? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are repercussions other than everyone in the opposing team getting cleared. So
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like this is, like, I'm sure it's probably story specific. We don't know the text of the spell yet. Maybe this is something that's specific to the story. So yeah, I just feel like if it's really hard.
Yeah, and talking about like the specifics of the spell, we don't know like how you would come across something like this. Like what's the story context to be able to come up or find or even recover a scroll like this. Like
Yeah,
understanding like okay, this is a thing, this is a very powerful thing, but why is it here in this world now? Like
yeah.
who has the power to summon a Tarrasque? And if it's a scroll, then it's a spell, right? And how are
Someone,
you able to build a scroll with this kind of magic? That's scary. This is
it's
god level
effectively
shit.
like, yeah, it's effectively like a gate spell, right?
Yeah,
It
something like that.
then summoning something as legendary as Tarrasque. Yeah, this is probably story specific. Do we have any news on Icewind Dale? Icewind Dale. Sorry, I had to put that.
Well, Icewind Dale is or the Rime of the Frost Maiden. I'm looking it up now in the Wizards website. It's supposed to come out September.
September.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it's coming
just
soon. So
just coming out soon. Yeah. So this
and
is a module. I'm gonna need to
it's a
search
book.
this.
It's an adventure book, just like
Okay.
Baldur's Gate. So probably they're going to time it with the shift of the season. After
So
season 9, it's going to be
season
season 10 with
so this
Icewind
is
Dale. So it's the start of a new, like, new
yeah.
rule set, new stuff like that. And we could talk about
Oh,
maybe
we can
the
talk
passing of the seasons as we shift from season 9 to season 10.
from the hot fires of the burning hells to the cold of the Icewind Dale. I don't know what Icewind Dale is. I should do more research on the lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have ah yeah. So that's just a weird going back to this tweet. That's just a really weird scroll, and yeah, I feel like it's definitely story specific. Like, I doubt you will see this or you would see everyone wielding this in AL. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope not.
And like I'm thinking like this could be a very specific item that or circumstance that would come up in the adventure that would put you in the same exact situation or like this. And having that item in this world is kind of like would give you a hint of what kind of adventure this might be. In terms of combat, we know Avernus. We played it. We played Avernus, although we're not done yet because of me. But
it's fine. Take your
we
time, man.
understand like the situation of the entire world of what's going on. There's a war happening in Avernus between the demons and the devils. So with this, maybe it's an uprising, or maybe it's something like that. We're not
Yeah.
sure.
I can read the synopsis, not the synopsis, the what they have on their website. May I?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So, some secrets are worth dying for. Feel the cold touch of death in this adventure for the world's greatest role playing game. In Icewind Dale, adventure is a dish best served cold. Beneath the unyielding night sky, you stand before a towering glacier and recite an ancient rhyme, causing a crack to form in a great wall of ice. Beyond this yawning fissure, the caves of hunger await. And past this icy dungeon is a secret so old and terrifying that few dare speak of it. The mad wizards of the arcane brotherhood long to possess that which the god of winter's wrath has so coldly preserved. As do you. What fantastic secrets and treasures are entombed in the sunless heart of the glacier, and what will their discovery mean for the denizens of Icewind Dale? Can you save 10 towns from the Frost Maiden's everlasting night? Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds a
Now,
lot
now,
like Game of Thrones, Beyond the Wall kind of shit, right?
beyond the wall, and I think seeing that there are secrets beyond this wall, maybe that the rest that the specific adventure is talking about is preserved and nice. Not sure. There's so many things that we could get off of this.
Oh yeah.
Revisit forlorn flickering candlelights of civilization.
And you're in a cold environment, so implications would give in terms of like monsters also, and the encounters that you could have, and environmental challenges of cold, of being able to take a
Ooh,
rest.
yeah, and guys, remember, White Dragon's Frost Breath. You need a Constitution save for those. Here I was with my monk, thinking he could
Yeah.
do everything.
So I'm excited to hear about it, or even watch, or maybe even run or play under it.
Yeah, what was the last game you ran? I'll be honest with you. That game I ran was 2 months ago.
That's a long time.
I know, right? And here I'm talking about D&D.
That's okay. Well, we ran an online epic with the Davao AL group. We ran a epic tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 epic. And I ran the tier 1 table, because usually, in epics, when you have like multiple tables, multiple tiers, you would assume that the tier 1s are just inconsequential, right? They're doing small things around, but actually the tier 1s really had a very significant role in the adventure. The tier 3s, they mostly spent their entire game in combat. The tier 2s are more or less like playing tower defense, and the tier 1s were infiltrating and looking for the source of the of what was going on.
Yeah, sounds like send the This is so bad. Send the expendables out to get this information.
Yeah, and
Let
there
the
were
tears.
dragons. There were
Oh,
dragons. There were really interesting mechanics in terms of like the tier one adventures. I changed a few things because it was relatively difficult to run in Roll20. There were moving
yeah.
platforms that you had to move every round, and that was
Ooh.
difficult to do in Roll20. So I just added a different mechanic that would introduce some sense of like randomness in the encounter. Um, and it and I recorded the game, by the way, and it was really really funny, because
Oh,
essentially what they needed to do, what heroes needed to do, was to get from point A to point B, right?
yeah.
And there were moving platforms, and they had to make like athletic check, dex checks, and stuff like that. So the closer they got to their goal, they would encounter like enemies that would push them back or
Mm.
teleport them back to the start. So there was
Oh,
one guy who got teleported back, I think 4 or 5 times. And the last
okay.
time, I think I broke him.
What happened?
He was just mumbling. And we were laughing. It was so funny. So that was a fun mod. I would love to be able to run it again. Like maybe, uh, yeah, maybe it can be run through like individual mods. You can run it as a solo adventure. I'd love to be able to run it just to see how frustrating it could be. Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah.
So that was
Speaking
the
of,
that was the
yeah, go
last
ahead.
that was the last game
Game
I
that you
ran.
played. Ah, and that was an epic too.
Hmm.
Man, I will make it a point to run something within the week. I just have to get my groove back on because it's
Yeah,
particularly yeah.
after dungeon mastering, for quite a bit, you kind of miss playing and
Yeah,
just being able to just be and not have to stress. Because guys, if you haven't DM'd before, it's a lot of work.
yeah,
It's a lot of prep.
so,
And it's
prep.
fun, it's fun to be able to prep. It's fun to be able to add more to your knowledge and to your building yourself to be able to
It is a
provide a
skill.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it's fun, but sometimes DMs need some playtime too.
Yeah,
DMs are
all
players
work.
too.
Yeah, all DMing and no playing makes the DM really cranky. Doesn't make sense anymore. Yes,
Yeah.
we got to the topic of Roll20.
Mhm.
It's a reliable platform, but we can rage on it for another time.
Well, there are alternatives now in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah.
like other like virtual tabletops, and even like Discord only games are a thing. I'm probably interested in running a Discord only game soon, just
Mhm.
because it's much easier for for prep, and you don't have to think about maps and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
Roll20 has, as awesome of a platform it has some limitations in terms of
does
what it can introduce, and
does.
it's fairly difficult for. I found that with other alternatives like Foundry and what was the other one in Steam? I forgot, but we'll talk about that maybe in another episode.
Yeah.
Um, it was a lot easier to create a character and even manage your character during the game with
Ooh.
other platforms rather than Roll20. And as a DM, I'm not quite sure what the experience is like, but I've heard good things about other platforms as well. So, yeah, it's definitely something that you could or we could look into and review,
Mhm.
because we
Yeah,
have been running most of our games online on Roll20,
yeah,
and you've run a few games like over the table, right? So,
yeah.
and I miss over the table games.
And, yeah, but please, this plague, man, it's ruined a lot for a lot of people.
Well, that's true.
Like, it's ruined livelihoods even. Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
sad.
and I have Avernus groups, over the table Avernus groups. We would play for about 6, 8 hours
Hmm.
over the
Damn.
table. Yeah, because that's the only time they have, Sundays and stuff like that. We would play them, and it would be really fun and engaging, and everything was, and in terms of like over the table games, it's much easier for a DM to go into certain avenues that you've not really anticipated. Like, for example, if they want to try something that you haven't prepped for, it's much easier to do. Mainly
Yeah.
because like you have grids, and all you really have or really need is our grids,
Yeah.
instead of like preparing, unless you have a really structured adventure in mind. um, so yeah, so maybe, yeah, in the future, maybe this week or next week, I'm looking to run White Plume Mountain again,
Okay, cool. All right.
and maybe even run an intro adventure for Lost Mine of Fandelver.
Yeah, cool.
So I have that
I
prepared.
I plan to run
Didn't
Dues
you
for
want
the
to run
Dead.
that?
What?
The Lost Mine?
Which
Didn't
one?
you want to run that?
I did, and I still have the module in Roll 20. I just didn't get around to running it.
Have you prepped for it? Have you read the
I have
adventure?
prep. I haven't read the adventure fully. That's
Mm.
my problem. Yeah, I
Well,
should. I
it's
really.
a relatively easy to understand and very open-minded adventure, because you can essentially control what the objective is for them, and that's just how I read it. Just very similar to other adventures in that same line. I think
Yeah.
it's very exploration based.
I'll definitely read it within the week, along with Dues for the Dead. I have
Oh
my
shit!
I have my weeb friends. I'm inviting my weeb friends over to, well, not over, like via Zoom call, and we'll have that. We'll play that.
Deuce of the Dead. Yes,
Yeah.
I ran that. I ran that here over the table, and yeah, just over the table. I haven't run it via Roll 20, although I played it under EJ. I would
Yeah.
say Deuce of the Dead. You have to be comfortable with killing people.
Um. Yeah, that's, you know me. I
Um,
my players and their player characters too much.
because notoriously, I feel like it's one of those adventures that are, just one of those really grindy meat grinder kind of like adventures, right? And
Oh,
especially if you come into, have you played it? You played it, right? We played it
yeah, I've
before,
played it.
right?
Yeah.
There is a section there that, spoilers, guys, there's a section there that you might be able to access, and then it opens a shitstorm for the players. So essentially,
Let's
so
keep
it's
it
a
at that. It's
shitstorm.
not. Yeah. There's always a potential for a shitstorm in D&D. So
Wow.
this one is particularly, yeah.
Yeah. So
But
yeah. So you for beginner DMs, Deuce of the Dead might be a little bit too hard, but definitely a challenge.
yeah,
Because as a DM, you'd be able to see how unforgiving certain mods are. Like it's supposed to be deadly. Like this
yeah,
mod is deadly. Um, Other mods like Lost Mine is a great starter, just a
yeah.
great starter adventure.
A
Like,
lot of people have been telling me that for both the DM and the players
Hmm?
who want to get into D&D,
yeah, absolutely. Like
for
with
their war
us, I think
characters.
we played Deuce of the Dead with EJ, right?
Yes, it's with EJ.
Yeah, DM EJ.
Yeah, I'll consider Fandelver, and then maybe because I've been running really short modules, this I haven't
Yeah,
really
you have.
gotten into that. Though I'm afraid to commit to to hard covers, mostly because people's schedules, like I said. So yeah, I think if I get my weeb group into D&D, then maybe we could start out.
Yeah,
Maybe I could
absolutely
start
great.
it.
Well, the Season 9
Yeah.
mods also is a really good
Yeah.
starter adventure. Like you would season 9 mods, Escape from Elderguard. Have you played that?
Escape from no, I haven't. It's,
It's a good
have we?
starter. I don't
I
know.
haven't. I haven't. I
I'm
never.
not sure. I played it so many times. I memorized it already. Like I don't
You
need to read
don't
the
need
mod.
notes anymore.
Like I've
That's
run
good.
it so many times.
Escape from Eltergard.
Mhm.
Elter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll search for that as well.
Like
Does this involve?
if you want me to DM your group, I could if you want to run that.
Okay.
But
All right.
so you could play.
I'll ask them. So yeah.
Like maybe in the future.
Yeah, in the future, definitely.
It's fun. And how I flavored it is the characters from that particular line or storyline are characters from The Witcher.
Okay.
So they're particularly like easy to identify because I see, okay, this sounds like a Geralt. This sounds like a Ciri. So there are a lot of like similar or parallel, story points.
So now that you mentioned The Witch, remember that one time my my homebrew where I had a Witcher character.
Oh yeah, I do. What was his name?
Harold of
Harold.
Nivea.
Jesus Christ.
Of
Homebrews,
Yeah.
man. Speaking of homebrew,
Yeah.
I'm looking to run my homebrew. Maybe I'm prepping it now, like maybe next or like in a couple of weeks or so. It's going to be hoping for a long-term campaign.
Mhm.
It probably would end in tier 3, starting at tier 1.
Tier
So I
1.
might be opening it up for like play testing in maybe Roll20 or maybe in the Davao community.
Foundry?
Not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would always want to join your game, so let me know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And expect like you haven't played my White Plume, right?
I haven't played your White Plume yet, but I
You
have
should.
heard some stories
You should.
of players.
It's so funny. Like it's such a ridiculous mod. Like I was reading, like one White Plume Mountain is one of the oldest, adventurers.
Yeah, I think it's 2.5 or 3. I'm not sure what edition.
And part of the allure of it is that White Plume is supposed to be kind of comedic because it is kind of ridiculous how it is.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of like a horror house or something like that. Right? It's funny. Yeah, but in the same way, it's kind of like intimidating, and I love like the tension that it creates for players to have like a very ridiculous, clairvoyant, flamboyant NPC in a really deadly dungeon situation.
I would say it would be like the Legends of the Hidden Temple module of Dungeons and Dragons, but it's way deadlier than that.
Like with how I approached it, now that I'm thinking about it now, is that it's really open to the interpretation of the players as well, like how they interact with certain monsters. Like if I could come up with a story, I had a player play it once who could talk to sea creatures, and spoiler, there is a significant sea creature there guarding one of the main points, right?
Yeah.
So one of the interactions that were had during that time, she wanted to speak to the sea creature, right, to try to reason with it. And how I played it out was like, okay, I am bound contractually to guard this thing, but if you don't kill me, I won't kill you, and I'll pretend to fight. All right? They kind of like play fought.
Yeah.
It was really dramatic. Ooh, that hurt really bad. I'm going to try to kill you now. Wink, wink. It's really funny.
Oh, stab. I remember what my first time running that. It was with you guys, and I tried to play it off like a game show, where one of the creatures, one of the first creatures you meet was actually the host. And yeah, it's really cool because I can add all sorts of flavors to these illegal games without
Yeah.
people batting an eye. Yeah, well, I do like that idea. You're contractually it's
They
like a
kind of are.
corporation.
They kind of are.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a corporation,
Yeah.
kind of, when you think about.
Yeah, and I really have I think like it's a developing thing, but I'm really enjoying, and I played it a few times with different groups, and they really enjoyed the dynamic of it, and maybe have something going on there that I could carry on, like on over the table games, and kind of like be one of those hallmark games that I would be really into in terms of like how you want to play like a tier 2, and that we can do, and we can play like in the house and spend the entire day just playing it, and they beat it at record time as well, that group.
How long or how short did they beat it?
6 hours, more or
Yo,
less.
6 hours?
Under 6 hours.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
mainly
Took me like
because
8.
of excellent RP.
Alright.
I reward RP, and
Yeah.
that they're ridiculously powerful.
Tier
Those fucking
3?
assholes.
They're
They-
tier 3, like.
Tier 2. They one-rounded
Sorry.
they one-rounded one individual who was hiding in a dark room because of crits
Ow.
and smites.
Crits is. Oh, okay.
So
Man, shout out to that one paladin I played with once. I think we both know who he is.
Jesus.
Who was particularly eager about our episodes. Those smites,
poor
man.
guy. Hi, Luke. Poor guy. Yeah,
What did
smites
you
are
do?
stupid. Yeah, so
They're strong, man.
absolutely. So anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap up?
I think we're good. Like, we'll save some of the rage and some Arcana check. Rage really doesn't always have to be about rage. We'll talk about some other things some other time. I think I'm hearing the weekend about to close, and it's time for us to wrap up this short rest. What do
Absolutely.
you think, Fonzie? How about you?
Yeah, I've recovered some of my hit points. I got my bardic inspiration back. I'm good to
Oh,
go.
it's good.
Looking forward to the rest of the week in some dungeon and dragons prep, and going back into the dynamic of DMing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I need to get back into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take time.
All right, so let's put the cinders to rest. It's time to go on forward to another adventure.
Sure.
A week of
Carlo,
adventure.
where can we find you on social? Would you like to plug your channel?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Carlo Geeks Out. I also have a website called carlogeeksout.com. I'm coming up with a few video essays on some reviews from the stuff that I loved last year, not this year, because this year was particularly sucky. And yeah, I'm still thinking of that Taylor Swift review, man. But that's it. How about you, man?
What games are you playing now?
Right now, I'm finishing up my Resident Evil 7 playthrough.
Nice.
I've already finished 2 From Software games, both Sekiro and Dark Souls. They're just scheduled for publishing, and
Nice.
I'm looking forward to Doom Eternal and
Nice.
some of Dishonored 2. How about
My
you,
heart-
man? What's up?
My heart cannot
Yeah?
handle Doom. I just can't. It's just the music. It just makes me very anxious.
What the fuck is going on? Yeah, that game is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of like Elder Scrolls Online. I'm back at that.
How is that? How is it?
Really fun.
How is Mundus? Oh, okay.
Really fun. I love that. I love that game. I used to play it a lot when I still had a PS4. So I played it on PS4. I had a level 90-ish character there, a rogue, essentially a rogue, but it's a Nightblade, right? In the context of the universe. So I'm playing more of that, but on the PC. And also, I got back into playing Overwatch, which is cancerous and frustrating, but relatively fun.
It's an
And,
abusive relationship that you just keep coming back to.
yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, Overwatch is in a really bad state in terms of like competitive play, but it's still fun. It can still be fun. Yeah, and other games I've been looking to play that are not Animal Crossing. Maybe maybe I'll look into like Fallout maybe or something like that.
There's this cool new game that I see everywhere on my feed right now, Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah.
And now that I think about it, is there an Eastern-based D&D module we could run? I mean, man, I'd love to create a samurai fighter right now. Sorry. Anyway, how about you, Fonzi? Where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Fonzitoot. That's FONZITOOT. And yeah, essentially at my Facebook page and my coaching page is Activate Leadership PH. So we have a Facebook page and also we're starting out a podcast. So we're trying that out on Spotify.
I've been regularly listening to that podcast, by the way. Guys, that is really good. Some good things to listen to.
Yeah, it's a good check-in, and the things that I've been learning there, those are like what I would use to coach other people as well with the same material from John Maxwell. So I've been using the same material for the podcast. I'm looking into expanding the podcast in the future, but I'm just taking my time. I wanted to finish that series first. So yeah, so have a listen if you have the time, or if you're into that kind of thing, just about self-development and developing your leadership, developing yourself.
All right, so thank you, Fonzie. All right, guys, we're about to wrap up this short rest. We're picking up our armor. We're putting it on our armor rather, and wielding our blades. Our spell slots have been replenished. If you guys have any topics or have any questions or general feedback for the show, just let us know. We are active more or less in the AL group. Let us know in the comments. Let us know through our properties what you think, and yeah, we'd love to talk about it and give you feedback, tell you whether you're right or wrong. Just kidding, no, we won't. We appreciate your feedback. All right, let's wrap it up, Fonzie. Let's go forth into the unknown, which is next week, which is probably tomorrow. So,
yeah. See you guys soon, and hope to.
A short rest with Fonzi and Carlo.